Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael and we're going to be getting right back into some more Reddit stories. If you enjoy the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. Now, without further ado, let's begin. This story was posted by a deleted user in the relationship advice subreddit. The post is titled, "My marriage has been horrible for the past year. Wife's sister recently moved in. We have a lot of fun together. Made me realize how unhappy I am in and I want to divorce. My wife and I have been married for 3 years. Our marriage has been horrible for me in the last year. My wife is always angry, negative, lazy, and blames everything that goes slightly wrong in her life on somebody else except herself. I am a very outgoing and motivated person who enjoys going out a lot. My wife is less outgoing but used to make an effort to go out together and have fun. For the past year, she hasn't contributed anything to our marriage. She is addicted to her phone and TikTok and barely pays attention when I'm talking or when we are doing something together. We hardly go out anymore, and if we do, she always finds something to get angry about, like a waiter taking a little too long. When we are out eating, she is on her phone watching TikToks and barely communicates with me. She always wakes up moody and angry, which destroys the whole vibe. She curses in every other sentence and huffs and puffs if she has to do something that normal adults have to do. We have not been intimate for the past 6 months, and it doesn't look like that will change anytime soon. I always tell her how much I appreciate her and that I love her, and I try to do things together. However, she always shuts me down when I suggest doing something because she is tired, yet she proceeds to watch Netflix until 2 a.m. She never shows any affection or appreciation toward me. For the past year, I have tried to communicate that something needs to change in our marriage, but she just gets angry and avoids the conversation instead of engaging in it. It has reached the point where I have stopped caring about our marriage and have been focusing on my personal life and goals. My wife's sister, Elle, has recently gotten out of a long-term relationship and has temporarily moved in with us. Elle is the complete opposite of my wife. She is happy, vibrant, talkative, and fun to be around. Ever since she moved in, we have been spending a lot of time together because my wife does nothing but watch Netflix and talk to her friends on FaceTime when she is home. On the rare occasions when she is not doing one of these things, she is out with her friends. Elle is very active, so we engage in many activities together. She joins me when I go to the park for some fresh air, helps me cook when I'm preparing dinner, and even works out with me in my home gym. I always try to get my wife to tag along with us, but she never does. Spending all this time with Elle has completely changed my mood. Being around someone positive who doesn't complain about every single thing in their life is refreshing and fun. But don't get the wrong idea. We have never done anything inappropriate. We have just become really good friends who lift each other up. The past couple of months since Elle moved in have made me realize how unhappy I am in my marriage. Having someone around who constantly complains, curses, and is angry drains every bit of energy you have. It's depressing, and that's not how I want my life to be. I want to be with someone positive who shows that they care about me and wants to have new experiences together with me. I have tried so hard for the past year to make my marriage work with my wife, but I just get shut down. I don't feel loved or appreciated anymore, and I don't want to be in this position any longer. I want a divorce so I can move on with my life and find someone who actually loves me and cares for me. I have officially checked out of my marriage and don't want to turn back. I'm just not completely sure how to approach the situation now. I know for a fact that I'm going to be criticized by friends and her family for leaving my wife, and that I'll somehow come out as the bad guy. I want this process to be as clean as possible, but I'm not sure how. Update. My first post received a lot of traction. I appreciate all the supportive messages I have received, especially from those who shared their own experiences. You have definitely helped me gain some perspective on the matter. Over the past couple of days, I have been able to clear my head about my marriage. I realized that this is not how I want to spend the rest of my life. I want to be with someone who cares about me and loves me. Clearly, she does not. I want to be with someone who respects me enough to put her phone down when we are having dinner and I'm trying to talk to her rather than ignoring me to watch TikToks. I am done trying and getting nothing in return. I am done giving it my all and receiving nothing back. I have been trying to communicate and make things better for a whole year, but I have been completely neglected. I still have love for my wife, but I'm not in love with her anymore. I want to move on with my life, find the right person for me, and lead a happy life. I have already been in contact with my divorce attorney and I'm starting the process. I turned 32 days ago and my wife didn't even acknowledge my existence. Instead, she went out with her friends that night. Even her sister remembered my birthday and got me a present. She was shocked that my wife ignored it. We ended up having dinner together at a restaurant and she even paid for both of us. I didn't didn't feel the need to mention my birthday to my wife because I knew that at this point she didn't really care. This really solidified my decision. I don't care if she is depressed or not. If she doesn't care enough about me to remember and acknowledge my birthday and would rather go out with her friends, then I don't want to be with her. People keep suggesting that we should go to counseling or therapy to work things out. For the past year, I have been trying to get my wife to attend couples therapy with me, but she just refuses and gets angry with me as always. I have tried everything I could think of to make my marriage work, but she shuts down every effort I make. I've put in so much effort, but now I have had enough. A lot of people tried to diagnose my wife with depression in my previous post, but I'm not a medical professional, so I can only speak from my perspective. To me, it seemed like she was living her own life without me and that she would get frustrated with everything I got involved in. I'm not going to say if she has or doesn't have depression, that's not for me to determine. Whether she has it or not, I don't find that a valid excuse to treat me the way she has been for the past year. She didn't even have the respect to communicate and talk to me like a decent human being instead of being on her phone or ignoring me. If she has depression, she'll have to figure that out on her own without me. Many people were also suggesting that I just want a divorce to get with her sister. That's not true. I want a divorce so I can get myself out of this miserable marriage and move on with my life. I have no plan to pursue her sister. I'm getting this divorce for my own well-being. Elle said that she finds the divorce unfortunate, but that she supports my decision. She even suggested that we stay friends afterward because we get along great. When I told my wife that I was divorcing her, some small part of me hoped she would realize what has been happening in the past year and try to apologize and make things good again. Instead, she started getting angry with me and yelling at me. As always, instead of taking responsibility, she started blaming me. At this point, I stopped caring and didn't respond to all her yelling. I told her that my decision was final. I also suggested she see a medical professional to figure out her possible depression, but what she does with that advice is really none of my concern. Elle knew something was up and tried to talk with my wife about what was going on, but pretty much got dismissed and yelled at for getting her nose in our business. For now, I'll be sleeping on the couch and living my own life. Elle informed me that she is moving out and was able to find a place, so I'll be taking the guest bedroom when she leaves. I'm in the middle of trying to figure things out with my lawyer, and hopefully we will be able to move fast in this divorce. I'm mentally preparing myself for everything that will happen to me socially, and I accept that. I just want this to be over so I can move on with my life. User 8% Juice said, contrast is sometimes the best way to realize what's going on in your own situation. I'm so glad the OP realized something was wrong and then took multiple actions to change it. That's hard to do. To this user Now You See said, it can be so hard to leave those situations too, because even though you feel something is deeply wrong, you also feel that logically you can't expect them to meet a need you can't communicate to them. So the empathetic side of you feels guilty and feels like leaving would be unfair. I've been in that situation twice before, and both times I distinctly remember when I finally realized what the problem was. I remember feeling such a huge sense of relief because I finally understood that I wasn't being unreasonable by expecting uncommunicated needs to be met. I was just expecting them to treat me like an equal, and like spending time with me wasn't a chore they were forced to do. I'm so glad OP realized what the problem is and got out before they brought kids into that mess. Well done to him for not transferring his emotional needs onto the sister and actually respecting her as a friend. User Boss Baby 33 said, good for OP. At first I thought he was divorcing his wife to be with his wife's sister, but that's not the case. His wife doesn't care about him, she just does her own thing. I see many red flags in their relationship. It's toxic and lacks respect. They are just showing others that they are a couple. I clearly felt like they were roommates. This next post was made in the AITAH subreddit by a user named Unusual Capital. The post is titled AITAH for not caring about my wife's affair. We've been together 7 years and married for 5. We don't have kids. I have been working from home since COVID hit. For the last 3+ years, she has been a secretary in a large office building. Now, I'm not going to pretend like we had the perfect marriage 2 years ago and that I can't believe she would do this. I was totally complacent in my life and really wasn't putting much effort into our relationship at all. That doesn't excuse what she did, and she had her own issues with intimacy and communication that led us to where we were then. I just want it clear I'm no saint in all of this. I totally understand we were basically roommates that on rare occasions had sex. Well, I found out right away when the emotional affair started. I've got all of our everything logged into every device we have, including my work computer, I mean synced email, text, photo, social media, etc. So I was basically reading her affair regularly, including when it became a physical affair about 4 weeks in. The part that told me this was over though was that I felt nothing about this. I was totally indifferent, maybe a little embarrassed at worst. When the physical affair started 2 years ago, I recognized this marriage was dead and that I should just divorce, mostly because I felt nothing. I started looking into lawyers and figured we could just do this easily and amicably. Well, here's where the crazy part happens. When the emotional affair started, she seemed, I wouldn't say happy, but less sad. Then, the weekend after the physical affair started, I got the shock of my life. She came into my office that Saturday morning and asked me to take her on a hike and picnic. Initially, I thought this was the moment to burst her bubble and reveal what I know, but I didn't. I decided to actually get up and do this. I kind of thought she was going to reveal it herself and ask for divorce. We had a really nice time, it was a great day, and she never brought up anything. I chalked it up as one more good memory before we end this thing. Then she asked me out again that week. Then we had intimacy. I don't know if it was shame or guilt or what, but she was basically taking the initiative to improve our marriage. After that first week, she began to open up more about her feelings. I, for some reason, had a fire lit under me and started to make some effort in our relationship, started reconnecting with some old friends, got all the laundry off the gym equipment. The affair continued, but as we spent more time together over those early weeks, and since it really gave me no concern and everything seemed better, I decided to just forget about it and divorcing her and just start enjoying my life. I do still love this woman very much. Up until 2 days ago, we were in a really solid place. We had outings every other weekend, date night Thursday, regular intimacy, and communication. I don't even read their messages anymore, just occasionally to see if it's still going on. 2 days ago, I noticed she was having frequent and long conversations with one of her close friends. I asked my wife about it, and it turns out this friend's husband got caught having an affair. My wife has been comforting her. This would not have been a big deal, but my wife then started bashing the husband for cheating. I don't know why I said it, but it came out, "You're one to judge." She got super defensive and pressed me for why I said that. I initially tried to apologize and move on, but she wasn't letting up, and I eventually spilled that I've known about her affair the whole time. She tried to play dumb, which annoyed me, so I started citing specifics. She then got really mad at me, started crying, and accused me of not caring about her. I got pissed and started yelling at her because I'm not the one having an affair. It got heated. We went to separate rooms and slept it off. Yesterday morning, she got up extra early and went to work before I got up. I tuned back into their messages and she had broken up with the affair partner. He was messaging her constantly on every app and she just kept blocking him. She came home early yesterday. When I went to talk to her, she stopped me, looked at me, and asked how I could let this go on. I replied, "Because I just didn't care." She then called me a huge asshole and locked herself in our bedroom until she left for work this morning. She got home tonight, said nothing to me, and locked herself in again. I can't even imagine in what bizarro world I could possibly be the asshole in this situation. Is there a perspective out there where I am? If so, please share it with me because in my mind there isn't. User Lamb's English said NTA, but telling her you just didn't care. Put her in a strange position against the guilt she's been feeling and the attempt to rediscover your relationship. But most definitely NTA. User Outrageous said, she's mad that you didn't care enough about her to stop the affair or to try. She's being unreasonable. To this user Fireproof Spider said, the funny thing is that OP did care. The affair improved their lives, which is why he let it go. If it hadn't, he would have told her about it. User Bobo Zet said, I say this as a compliment. I'm a strictly monogamous person with zero tolerance for cheating, and yet I find it fascinating how you're able to love in a completely detached way, having no expectations from your partner. You don't feel entitled to her love, nor do you feel that she should love only you. In a way, this approach seems to have saved you from a lot of pain. It's also a very Jedi-like attitude. Update. First off, I appreciate everyone's comments on the original post. Except for those of you who just get on and throw insults, you need therapy more than anyone else on this whole sub. If you missed the original post, you can see it in my profile. I decided against showing the post or any comments. Instead, I used it to organize my thoughts and points. Our conversations, which I'm going to share below, were in no way linear. We jumped around in topics, discussing one thing that led to another, only to come back to this, reveal that, and so on. So I'm going going to try to put it all together as coherently as possible. As I mentioned in a comment on the other post, my wife finally came out at around 12:30 a.m. on Friday and joined me on the couch in my office. She curled up next to me and just cried for a solid 15 to 20 minutes while we remained silent otherwise. When she was ready, we began talking until we were worn out. We picked that up again last night, which was also taxing. We finally wrapped things up for now this morning. This included long spells of crying, hysterical bonding, and a phone call to the affair partner while I listened. The start of the affair was pretty cliche. Flirty small talk that made her feel good escalated into messaging and sharing personal details, eventually leading to kissing. I probably don't need to explain the rest of the escalation from there. We talked a lot about what got her to that point. She remembers feeling like nothing she did could get my attention. I completely agreed with this. However, I also stated that I don't remember too many attempts on her part. She acknowledged that she wasn't very forthcoming during those days, always hinting at what she wanted instead of just outright saying it. There wasn't any one moment that broke the camel's back, just a collection of instances. When AP came into the picture, the validation was intoxicating, especially in contrast to years of neglect. However, she said she felt a ton of guilt and shame. She was in the same spot I was when it started, assuming we would just divorce since we were largely just roommates at that point. The hike and picnic were supposed to be the last bit of assurance that our marriage was over. She did not expect me to agree to go or for it to be such a pleasant time. From that point on, we started reconnecting and she made the decision to put in effort as long as I kept making an effort. She opened up more and I responded positively. That got us to where we've been for the last 2 years. As for why she didn't end it with AP once I was back, she admitted she was just being selfish. She kept telling herself she would end it, but didn't actually want to. I was planning dates, listening, and initiating intimacy often. He doted on her and validated her. She had the best of everything. Eventually, she convinced herself that what I didn't know couldn't hurt me. This realization makes her feel foolish now, knowing I knew the whole time. We talked about my surveillance and she said she is having trouble getting over this and feels betrayed. I didn't give her any excuses. It came up because she asked how I knew and I told her she's been logged into our old desktop and my work computer on her email, Instagram, and Facebook for years, as well as it being connected to our cloud. I owned up to how wrong this was, but we both agreed that if we are going to make the reconciliation work, we're going to have to forgive each other for a lot of things. As many said and were right about, my "I don't care" statement was extremely triggering and hurtful. It took her right back to where we used to be. I took advice and organized my thoughts and told her that it wasn't that I don't care. I care about her immensely and changed for the better these last 2 years because I wanted to be there for her. I then explained I should have said it doesn't bother me. She's still trying to wrap her head around this. I'm trying to explain how I just basically don't feel jealousy or insecurity, which is hard to put into words. It also causes a mix of emotions on her end. I told her that having her be happy again made everything worth it for me. Also, the affair got me off my ass for the first time in years, so in a way I've kind of told myself it was a blessing these past years. Finally, to address the breakup with AP, she said once it was out, she went into a doom spiral thinking everything in her life was a sham. She felt guilty over everything, she cut him loose and locked me out. She was basically beating herself up for being awful to both of us. Listening to her call with him was hard even for me. From what she's told me in our conversations and the call, I'm pretty convinced he was or is in love with her. I think he was holding out hope we would divorce at some point. She laid it out for him that we would not and were going to do everything to make this marriage work. He didn't beg or degrade himself, but seemed genuinely hurt. When the call ended, she reblocked him and stated she has to go no contact so he can heal and actually go find someone and we can fix our issues. We are working out our plans to fix our marriage. We're not totally sure where to go from here. She wants individual counseling for herself, so we will make that happen. After she has done that for a while, we will probably start marriage counseling. We are also going to symbolically fresh start, and I'm getting a new work computer. From there, it's being open and honest with each other every day and making sure we are being present in our lives. I love this woman very much and want to make this work. Now to address some of the other questions. Sorry to all the poly/ethical non-monogamous people, we did not discuss this. She never called herself anything other than a cheater or unfaithful. I don't have the emotional bandwidth to bring this up right now, so if this is ever discussed, it'll be down the road. I've never been tested for autism or depression or anything really. I've always been stoic and was raised to believe that men don't show emotion, only when appropriate. I seriously doubt I have any underlying undiagnosed mental health issue. I've never been much of a feelings person, but I'm good in social scenes and understand societal norms. Some people just don't feel as deeply as everyone else seems to. I don't know if this is the update everyone wanted, but it's where we are at today. We might be somewhere totally different tomorrow. Right now, all I can do is take it a day at a time. This next post was made in the Off My Chest subreddit by a user named Ayaka Shadow. The post is titled, "My dad said he wishes he had a son rather than a daughter. I am not very close with my father due to him not wanting to spend much time with me. When I was little, my mom and I did lots of fun activities together. She always played with me and entertained me, resulting in us having a good relationship now years later. But whenever I try to get my dad to play with me or watch something with me, he'd be uninterested and tell me to go play with my mom. This happened practically every day, with me wanting to watch him work on his car or ask him to play, but he always pushed me off. As I grew up, I believed that my dad just didn't like me, so I asked him to play or teach me stuff less and less. He would only do things with me on my birthday and holidays, though he always made sure I was fed when I was hungry and would comfort me if I was upset. Other than that, he would avoid me. Now to today, I was in the kitchen getting a snack and my dad was outside in the backyard on the phone with one of his friends. I could hear what he was talking about from the open kitchen window, but was initially ignoring it until he said my name in their conversation. I listened more closely and heard him telling his friend that he wishes he had a son more than a daughter because he never wanted a girl and didn't try to build much of a relationship with me because of it. He said he had tried to get my mom to have a second child to see if he could get a son, but my mom didn't want 2 children at the time. So he just ignored me when I was able to walk and talk so he could focus on other things and let my mom raise me. I went to my room after hearing this and am writing now. I want to tell my mom because of how hurt I feel, but I also don't want to cause an argument between them since they are really close. Does anyone have a few suggestions on what I should do? Should I ask him about it or just tell my mom? Update. Hi everyone, I have a short update on my situation from my last post. First, I want to say how grateful and heartwarming it was to see your comments. Your kind words really helped, along with the few people who messaged me asking if I needed someone to talk to. I really appreciate you all. On to the update. My mom got home from work and I waited until she wasn't busy to talk to her. I asked her to come with me to my room, and once we were both in there with the door closed, I told her what I overheard and how I felt. Not just about his hurtful words, but also about how I felt my whole life with how he treated me like I'm a stranger. My mom was quiet as I talked, and once I finished, she hugged me and told me how sorry she was. She hugged me while telling me that I'm the best thing to ever happen to her and that it didn't matter that I'm a girl because she'd love me either way. That's how parents should be, and she'd always be there for me. After a bit, she went to confront my dad, who admitted it. They got into an argument over it, which ended with him going to stay at my grandma's house for a bit. I'll add another update if anything new comes up. Edit. I forgot to mention that my mom also told me how she's been doing her best to fill both roles of my mom and dad since my dad wasn't. Update 2. Wow, first off, I want to say thank you to everyone who commented on my last 2 posts. I've received a lot of advice and support, and I really want to express my gratitude. You have no idea how much it means to me. On to the update. My dad came home last night, and my mom was hesitant to let him into the house, but he said he needed to talk, so she let him in. He, my mom, and I sat in the living room and he started apologizing for what had happened. He told my mom and me that he regretted what he said and that he would step up to be a better father to me and make things right. My mom told him that what he did was not acceptable in any way and that it's not a matter where apologizing will fix it. I then asked how exactly he planned to make up for ignoring me my whole childhood and not being a dad to me. I pointed out that I'm turning 18 in a couple of months and that I won't be a child anymore. I said that ignoring me throughout my childhood and pushing me away because of what's between my legs was a horrible thing, and I don't forgive him. He started apologizing more and had some tears in his eyes, which sort of surprised me. My mom then asked me to head to my room, so I did. I could hear my mom saying things to him, and then I heard him leave the house again. She came into my room afterward and told me that she would not be allowing him back into our home anymore. She gave me a hug before telling me that she texted his mom the night he left for a few days about what happened. Apparently, my grandma tore into him about it and kicked him out, so he had to stay at one of his friends' houses. Final update. Hello all, it's been almost a month since my last update because not much had happened with the situation until last weekend. If you want to know the full story, please look at my previous posts and then come back to this one. I was home alone last weekend watching The Mandalorian as I was resting after being hit by a car. While I was lying in bed, I heard knocking on the front door. I went to check and saw my dad standing there. His left eye looked completely bloodshot and he asked to come in. At first, I said no and told him that if he wanted to talk, we could do so where we were. He started apologizing for everything and then tried to guilt me into forgiving him and getting my mom to let him stay again. When I said no, he got a bit mad and started ranting about what had been happening in his life recently. I wasn't really interested. I was just waiting for him to back up so I could shut the door when he started to calm down a bit and then dropped a bombshell. He said that he wasn't very interested in me growing up because I was not his kid. I was dumbfounded hearing that and asked what he meant. He said, "If you were my child, you would not be a girl, so you aren't my kid." I was actually shocked he thought that was how it worked, that I wasn't his child because I wasn't born a boy. Like, what the hell? I started to tell him that he's an actual idiot if he thought that's how it worked, and that made him mad. He slapped me and started yelling, so I pushed him backward and he fell off the porch. I quickly shut the door and locked it before calling my mom, who immediately called the police and rushed home while he was yelling and trying to get the door back open. After a few minutes, the cops showed up and he was taken in an ambulance to a hospital because the fall broke his wrist. Then he was arrested for assault on a minor since we have cameras that caught the whole thing on video. My mom has been comforting me over the past week because I had to deal with that, but now we are okay. I probably won't update again unless something major happens, but I wanted to say thank you to everyone who has reached out and left nice comments on all of my posts.